Because my whole life I've been dealt, not a bad hand, but people necessarily they really didn't believe in my skill set, or I always had to really prove that I could do something. She said something like, you really can't write or something. But that always was in the back of my head. Like, you know what? I want to do a show where I'm talking to successful individuals and they're being transparent with their journey. Because a lot of people, they just think that overnight you just become successful.
Hello, my Pysa Noel Show passion propellers and bold beauties. How y'all doing today? I have Jay Styles here today. I'm so excited. Hi, Jay.
Hey, how you doing, Pysa?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm super excited to have him here.
Me too.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So he's an author, an entrepreneur, and a producer, and you're just going to be really inspired. And to use the same word, the name of his book is called Become Inspired, and his series. We'll hear more about that, but yeah, I just wanted to start off with that part. I always give a little accolade section first, and then I'll let him complete his intro. So I loved hosting, and I got into some classes in hosting, and I don't know if we ended up having the same class or not, but we did end up being connected through those classes. And I was super inspired because I could see his grind and it looked similar to mine. What I saw that stood out was that he was creating his own. And we also have a similar outlook on following passion and just kind of creating your own and making it work. Because if you're waiting on other people, it can be too slow. And then I'm like, all these politics is just too much. So I really saw him go out of his way to do all of that. And I remember I binge watched your series, Become Inspired.
Become Inspired, yes.
Yes, it was just really, really well done, not too long. And because it wasn't too long, I was able to watch the whole thing. So I'm super excited to have him here. And you inspired me, Jay.
Pysa, thank you. And you know what? I forgot that that's how we initially met on Instagram through Suzanne Senna's class. And I think I followed you, or you followed me and I followed back or whatever. But I totally forgot about that, man. So I appreciate you just for having me here and being on your show. And hey, man, thank you.
You're welcome. For Pysa Noel Show Season 2, we have a new theme, or I call it a sub-theme, and that is overcoming the odds and pursuing passion. When Jay agreed to do this show, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like he has the perfect story for this. So I'm excited to dive into that with him. But before we get into it, I do want to read a couple of things that I found on Google about overcoming the odds. Defying the odds is interchangeable, but I like the word overcoming. So overcoming the odds, that means that you succeed in something that you are highly unlikely to succeed in or achieve. It's achieving something that most would deem impossible. That's a big one. An accomplishment of something that was seemingly improbable, or succeeding in something where people thought you would fail. Another big one. When the odds are stacked against you, and it's very likely that you won't succeed, but you do, you have overcome the odds. Yeah. So I did want to read that because it sparked some more thoughts for me when I thought about me overcoming the odds. So just wanted the audience to hear that. So with that being read, Jay, what comes to mind first?
You know what, when you sent me an email regarding the theme, I thought it was very ironic because my first book that I was going to write a long time ago, I think it's like 10, 11 years ago, was titled Against All Odds, because my whole life, I've been dealt, not a bad hand, but people necessarily, they really didn't believe in my skill set, or I always had to really prove that I could do something. Even with, writing, I remember I used to be a promoter as well, back when I was in radio personality. And I was on this big event. This lady, she made a comment. She said something like, you really can't write or something. But that always was in the back of my head. I always wanted to prove her wrong. So I always improved in my writing. And now I have a published book. So just even using that is just against all odds. So a lot of people, sometimes they don't believe in what you can do. And it's not really about proving them wrong. It's really about proving something to yourself. Even at today, man, I still think people kind of take me lightly, or they don't really believe in, what I have to say, or the things that I've done or do or are doing. I just continue to just go out and just prove to myself that I can do it. So I have a lot of stories about just overcoming, different obstacles or overcoming the odds. Even when I was a radio personality, I remember when I first became a radio personality, I got hated on a lot. And it was really because they saw a young person and I was eager to do any and everything. And I was driven, still driven. So back then as a radio personality, how to build your name is really doing a lot of community events. So I used to go out and do my own community events and sometimes not supported by the radio station. Then I would have those who was working there for a while and they just saw me as a threat. So I really just, proving myself, being a radio personality and like I said, man, the list goes on and on. When I first graduated from high school and I went off to college, I just wasn't a good test taker and I really didn't like taking tests. Give me a paper. I write a paper all day. But, I had to overcome that, had to overcome being in developmental classes. And in Georgia, where I'm originally from, Atlanta, Georgia, they put you in these specialized classes. And if you don't pass these classes, then they hold you out of school for a year, which I think they need to change that law in Georgia.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's crazy. My life is nothing but overcoming, all odds. So it's nothing new to me.
That's definitely an odd to overcome because people can try to make you feel dumb over a test. And
Right.
it's
Right.
really crazy. So
But I never, I never felt dumb. I knew who I was. I never been a good test taker. I wasn't affected by it. Like I knew I was smart. So, I just stayed focused and did what I had to do to kind of move up and get out those classes to take my core classes. But man, like I said, I've been dealing with overcoming odds my whole life, so it's nothing new, nothing new.
yeah, and I love that you had that mindset that you already knew who you were. You already knew this has no determination on how smart I
Right,
am or anything. It's just that's a weakness of mine, and
right,
as
right,
long as I can get through. But yeah, it's really good to be secure in what
right.
you can do, and it sounds like from then until now, that assurance of like I know what I can do, I know my strengths and weaknesses. That's a big
Mhm,
power, and that's why you are as far as you are now because it
mhm.
seems like it stuck with you. I don't know if it was something that you started with as a child. Speaking of that, what did young Jay want? Did you have dreams as a kid?
What's crazy, Pysa? I really didn't know as a kid. Even when I went off to college, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. My first major was computer science, and I found out that wasn't me the first semester after I found a DJ come to the school. And I was like, nah, I think I'm gonna go the DJ route, the radio personality route, and that's what I did. But like I tell people all the time, I really went to college just to kind of explore, get out the house. I didn't know where it was gonna lead me. As I was challenged with being in those developmental classes and I got out, that really boosted my confidence and I knew I could do anything. I always tell people the most important part of my life that kind of really molded who I am today was really graduating with my associates. And then after that, man, school was easy. I got a bachelor's and I got, you see behind me, that's a master's that I never used. you know, it was just a way for me to kind of, mold me to the person who I am and build me up to who I am today, man. So, I take great pride in that associate's degree, man. I had to really fight for that.
Yes. Listening to it, I'm like, once again, I'm hearing how steps are ordered. And
Right.
although it may not have been fun at the time, those classes and odds that you overcame, that
Yeah.
set up everything for your confidence. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's really cool to hear how like the things that people think were so rough, you can really hear, oh, that actually was your builder right there. So
Well, yeah,
cool to
that's true.
hear in hindsight. During the time, I don't know if it's fun, but afterwards, it's like, oh, now I see. I see
Right.
what happened.
Right.
I know you did the hosting thing, and then what made you start your series on becoming inspired? Like, what was the whole story behind that?
So I was doing hosting. I was hosting a lot with EUR Web, and then at the time I was still working with the radio station CBS Radio. And my passion for the radio, particularly the radio out here in California, was so different from how it is in Georgia or down south. Everything is just different. So I was losing passion for that, and then I was dealing with a lot of it was like a lot of discrimination at CBS. It was just a lot of stuff. So I was actually on my way out of that. And then working with EUR, shout out to Lee Bailey, man. Working with EUR, I was interviewing, everybody. And Fania, shout out to Fania too. But interviewing everybody, Denzel, Will Ferrell. And I was posting these interviews on my page, and Conspire and host would ask me, like, Jay, how do you get here? And man, you so lucky, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, people really don't know your journey. They just see the highlight reel of your journey when you post different things, but they don't know in between. So I was like, I always wanted to do a documentary, like a documentary type, show. And I was like, you know what? I want to do a show where I'm talking to successful individuals and they're being transparent with their journey, and they're showing their steps from, where they started all the way to where they are. Because a lot of people, they just think that overnight you just become, successful. And overnight is really like 10, 12, 15 years. God put it in me to kind of do that. And even you watch Jason's story, how Jason said that, he was one step away from quitting. He was going to quit. He was going to get another job. He was going to go back in corporate. At the time, he was working at AT&T, and he was going to find just another like corporate type job and get out of hosting. And then he got a call. So it's stories like that, but people need to hear, because it keeps that hope. It's all about that hope, man. Like, giving people hope that a new day is coming. So to answer your question, it was the person that inboxed me, and I just kept getting messages about how did I start, and I'm so lucky, and dang, you doing it big, and it was just a lot of that. But people really didn't know the journey.
Yeah, I talked about that in season 1 about like not wanting to hear the highlight reel. And I think that's very important to hear the different steps and everything like that. And I also think it's very noble of you to want to produce something like that and to even share your ups and downs, because a lot of people like to live in that hype of like, oh yeah, everything was good and everything was perfect. And it takes a certain amount of boldness and courage to explain a lot of the stuff that you went through and some of the hardships and stuff. It really is purpose driven when you go ahead and give some of the details, and those details in those hard times is what pushes us to push for ourselves. So thank you for being transparent and having people on your show be transparent. Thank you for that.
Of course. And Pysa, that's, I don't know. I mean, it's nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, everyone has a journey. No one's perfect. No one has the perfect journey. Even, people who you think that they may have a perfect journey because they maybe come from money. Everyone's struggling. Everyone has challenges. So it's just nothing to be ashamed with. And I'm just the type of person, man, if you ask me, I'll tell you. Because I just feel like someone needs to hear the backstory, because it's going to, help someone and give someone that hope, like I was mentioning earlier. And there's nothing wrong with that. It molds you to the person you are today. And I'm proud of my journey, man. I'm proud of
Yeah, because you have overcome for sure.
it.
So after your series, this book came along. So can you give us that journey?
Yeah, so back when I was still doing radio, before I moved to Los Angeles, back in 2010, I had an idea to do a book. Like I was telling you before, it was going to be Against All Odds, or something on that magnitude, something like that. And at the time, and I talk about this in the book too, at the time too, I really wasn't dedicated to do the book. It was just something that I wanted to do because I thought it was going to be cool. I'll be a published author, be a book. So I didn't even want to write the book. I hired a ghostwriter, and the book still wasn't completed. I moved here a year later, and the book was never completed. And what's funny is I found transcripts of my old book from 10 years ago after I completed my new book. And I was like, the same things that I'm talking about in this book, it was in the last transcript. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. But it just showed me that it just wasn't time. It wasn't time because I lacked discipline. I didn't have the discipline. And I really wasn't doing it for a great cause. It was more about me, but it wasn't for like a great cause. Fast forward 10 years later, in 2019, they came out with Become Inspired, the series. I was like, you know what? I think I want to do a book. I think I want to do a book titled Become Inspired, Your Next Steps. And I got to salute my man, Barack. He's my writing partner out here, man. He actually helped me with the outline because I was kind of stuck and I didn't know which way to go. But basically, I wanted to talk a little bit about my journey in the entertainment industry and how I stayed inspired throughout all the years, just the different strategies and routines that I use to kind of stay inspired. But to kind of validate my points, I use some of the stories from seasons 1 and 2 of Become Inspired TV series. So that's pretty much how it came about. And then in 2019, I got writer's block, and I could not figure out, how I was going to continue on writing this book. And that's when actually Barack stepped in. I kind of moved ahead on that. And then 2020 happened, and then the pandemic happened. I felt God was telling me, he was like, "Come on, Jay, you got all this time now. Let's get this book together." And I was like, I have to finish this book because I have nothing but time on my hand. Everything is shut down.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna spend time, Netflixing all day. So that's what I did. I really found a good writing schedule for me, which is early in the morning when everything is quiet. And I would write at least 500 words a day, but definitely more. And I got it done. Fast forward to August 9th, 2021, and it was out on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. But basically, to answer your question, it came from the series Become Inspired.
Awesome. I'll put the info in the details, so make sure you get your copy so you can be inspired.
Get your copy.
Get your copy, okay? Stay tuned for part 2 of Jay Styles on the Pysa Noel Show.